Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
So your opponent has not deemed to join us.
Okay.
That'll speed things up in that sense.
Correct.
But we're eager to get to know you.
Okay.
So why don't you tell our viewers at home who you are and why you're running?
So I'm Adam Baker. I've been a resident of Clackamas County for 12 years. I've been a police officer in Gresham for almost 24 years. In the time that I've been a police officer, I've served in a bunch of roles. I've been a public information officer for about 20 years. Was a hostage negotiator for about 16 years. Been a Spanish translator the entire time I've worked there. Field training officer for about 10 years. Detective for 4 years, where I did a bunch of fraud, forgery, identity theft, and some human trafficking. And I'm now the chief drone pilot for our work.
That's cool.
So
Okay, I want to know more about the hostage negotiation.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does the chief hostage negotiator of Gresham do?
Well, I wasn't the chief hostage negotiator. I was actually the assistant team leader for a while. I was our technical officer, so I ran a bunch of the equipment. I'm the chief drone pilot, but as a hostage negotiator, it was, those are skills you use every day talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
We deal with people not necessarily in their happiest of times and their most stress-free of times. So there was a lot of skills that I learned in talking to people in crisis that kind of helped me every day. As chief drone pilot, I'm in charge of a bunch of training, kind of coordinating monthly training for everybody and making sure everybody keeps their certifications up.
Great. Yeah. What makes you want to run for office?
I've been an officer for almost 24 years, and so I've served the community that I worked in. That's where I grew up, in Gresham. And as my retirement is looming,
mm-hmm.
I want to do something to give back to my immediate community and my city. I've spent a lot of time in other civic groups. I was the prime minister for the Royal Rosarians in 2018. White suits and straw hats in the parade. So I traveled around the Northwest and across the Pacific Ocean to a couple of different sister cities to represent the city of Portland and the Rose Festival. I'm a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I'm a member of the Elks. I was a Cub Scout and Boy Scout leader for 12 years. I've been involved in a lot of stuff, and I want to continue my public service career, and I want to do it that it'll help my immediate community and my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple of years ago, I thought about running. Kind of just prior to the summer of 2020, and my wife works at the jail downtown, and I work out in Gresham, and so that was a very stressful summer for us.
Not bad.
Yeah, it was a lot to deal with, and I think that running for office may have been a bit much for me at that point. I feel that I'm in a better position now to do it. I feel like the community's in a better mindset where we're all ready to talk again. Everybody's ready to say, let's not be so divided against each other. Let's try to find the best way to do the best things for each other. And over the last couple of years, I tried to get a hold of the current representative in my district a couple of times and never heard back from him at all. So I don't feel that our past representation has been good for our community.
Who holds that seat currently?
Mark Meek.
Mm.
He's vacating the seat to run for Senate in the same area. So the seat is open, and I think that I have, based on my experience and the things that I've done in life, I think I have a good perspective to bring to Salem and to try to help as many Oregonians as I can.
Have you been a Republican all your life?
I don't think all my life. No, I think probably as a younger adult I was a Democrat.
Why are you running as a Republican?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I think
I just popped into my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I vote for the person that I feel best represents my values and my ideals, and I think at this point the Republican Party has done that, and has done for the last I don't even know, probably 16, 18, 20 years.
Yeah.
I think that the Republican values and ideals meet mine best.
Where are you more Republican or more MAGA.
No.
I mean, is that a fair?
I
It's
understand.
really getting.
I understand the question.
Yeah.
I'm certainly a Republican, but I am a reasonable Republican. That's
Yeah.
what I always tell people. I don't think the extremists on either side represent a large group of people. I think it's a very small slice of our community that each far end represents, and I'm certainly not that. As a police officer, I've spent 24 years listening to both sides of an argument and trying to make a decision that is the most reasonable, the most legal, and the most appropriate based on the totality of circumstances, past precedent, things like that. I think that I am in that vein. I would be able to have cross aisle talks with people and at least listen to other ideas and figure out what's going to be best for everybody or for the most amount of people.
So your primary opponent, Dan Tooze, is a self-proclaimed Proud Boy.
Correct.
Have you had this? I'm asking this because I'm kind of curious about where you may have encountered him. Have you had to police any Proud Boy events?
No. I work in the city of Gresham, and I've never had to police any Proud Boy events.
But they have showed up. Like there was an event at Gresham City Hall maybe in the summer of 2020 where they were very unhappy about a Black Lives Matter flag, and they showed up, and the riot squad had to come out. And,
Right.
Keep them away from City Hall. Essentially.
So they made everybody work that day, and I spent the day inside a room just kind of waiting.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a decision to go out and work that day. It was, you're going to be here.
Oh, yeah.
But I have never had any interaction with them. He lives about 250 yards from me. I drive by his house every day on the way to home, on the way to getting home. So I've never had any positive or negative of any kind of interactions. I just know what I see in the media.
Sure.
Pictures and videos that are on Twitter
Yeah.
and things like that. I just I don't feel that best represents the citizens of my city, my community, or our party. So that's what I mean. That's not the reason I'm running, but I am who I am, and I'm not gonna pretend to be that over on that far side. I'm just I want to do the best thing that I can for everybody.
Who's endorsed you so far in this race?
So I've got the endorsement of the House Minority Leader, Vicky Brees Iverson out of Prineville. I've got the endorsement of Representative Jamie Kate out of Lebanon, the Mayor of Gladstone, Tammy Stemple, Oregon City Commissioner Adam Marl, and then the Oregon Coalition of Police and Sheriffs, and just last week we got the endorsement of the Clackamas County Peace Officer Association.
Is there one of those endorsements you would point to and say, well, that's the one? I mean, I know that they all matter to you, but is
Sure.
there one that you would say, like, that's the one I want voters to know about?
I think it's important to know that the House Minority Leader endorses me. My race is, I'm the only candidate she's endorsing in the primary. So I think that's a huge endorsement. Like you said, that they're all important. I don't want to downplay any of them. I specifically went to the Oregon Coalition of Police and Sheriffs and specifically sought out the Clackamas County Peace Officer Association because they're in my community, and I wanted to introduce myself and kind of explain why I'm doing what I'm doing and ask for their backing. And so I had an opportunity to appear in front of their board, their union, and get their endorsement. They're all huge for me. Having never been a politician, it feels weird to go out and ask for people for endorsements.
What about money?
That's the other thing. I always tell people that in my business we don't invoice for our work. We don't bill people, and so to go out and say, hey, I'm running for office and I need your financial support, it feels strange.
Who have you gotten? Who are some of your bigger donors?
Clackamas County Peace Officer Association, Representative Jamie Kate. I have a couple out-of-state friends that have given some money, but it's mostly friends and family that have given little bits here and there. So I don't have any huge donors at this point, but I'm working on it.
Yeah. Where are you from originally?
Gresham.
Oh, you were born and raised?
I'm born in Portland, but yes, raised in Gresham.
Oh, okay. I thought that you said something about you arriving there later, but you're born.
No, yeah, my parents lived in the same house they moved into when I was 11 months old.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I got two more questions. One of them's fairly serious, and the other one is just interests me.
Okay.
The more serious one is obviously over the past 2 years, a lot of conversation across Multnomah and Clackamas County about policing and
Right.
about its proper role, and about in the wake of the George Floyd killing, they're just like, it's all 100 days of protests
Yep.
in Portland. Were there police reforms over the past 2 years that you look at and you say, actually, I think this was a step in the right direction?
I think most of the reforms that have been introduced in the last couple of years were already against policy for most departments. This is just a way to codify them, to get people that say that want to feel like they're getting something accomplished. But most of the things that they've introduced about, reporting your coworker if somebody is doing something wrong, no chokeholds, those have all been against policy for a very, very long time. Like I said, it's just a way for those things to get codified and to say, everywhere it's like that now. It was like that in most places anyways. Mm-hmm. But I don't think there's a specific one that I can point to and say, yep, that should have been that way. Because things that happened across the country didn't happen here, and they're not. That's just not the way we do police work here.
Mm. Here's the more fun question.
Okay.
Tell me about what it's like to operate a drone in a crime situation.
So we use drones in a couple of different situations. It is also limited by state statute and by policy on where we can use them. We use them in exigent circumstances for somebody ran from a stolen car, somebody, a missing person, search and rescue, mapping a crash or crime scene. But I will tell you that I drive around with 3 drones in my car at all times. I have a big one that will stay in the air about 50 minutes and go about 54 miles an hour. And it's got a thermal camera, and it's got a zoom camera, and it's got a spotlight. I mean, it is a massive drone. And I've got a littler one that kind of is easier to deploy really quick and get up and look around, and then a really small one that'll go indoors pretty easily.
Like, are you tracking somebody with it? Like, if somebody steals a car and they're fleeing,
Sure.
do you track them down Burnside with the drone?
So the drone, the big drone that we have actually has a tracking, has software in it that will track. So when I get up in the air and I'm looking around and I see this car going, I can hit a button and it'll show me all the targets that the drone feels are moving that it can track. And I tap on one and the camera then moves itself. It just kind of, it'll zoom, it'll move. The body of the drone doesn't move itself, but it's very smooth. It's almost news helicopter worthy. It's very, it'll follow it a long ways away. We have to be able to see our drone, so it can get, the large one we can get about a mile away before you can't
You have to see
really
it by
see it.
regulation? Or?
Yeah, by FAA regulation. Yeah, it's called visual line of sight. So
Okay, yeah.
we have to be able to look at it. We can use a second person kind of
Yeah.
a little ways away as long as we're in contact with them.
Got it.
But we have to be able to see it, and then like that camera has a 200x zoom on it that we can zoom in and look at license plates. We can look in windows of cars and see if anybody's got guns and stuff.
And what kind of missiles are on the drone?
No,
Just kidding.
weaponization is also illegal. That's another thing. It's kind of across the country they're talking about eliminating the ability to use different manufacturers of drones because they're concerned about people attaching missiles and attaching.
Oh, seriously?
But yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a thing.
joking.
It's a thing, but it's against every regulation that I've ever seen. So they're simply used as a tool to map, to search for people, try to find lost people.
How did you feel during the defund the police time? How did that feel as a law enforcement officer to hear people saying that? And how many voters do you think the people who were saying that stuff lost?
It was tough to hear, but in the past couple of years, there's been some research done, and public safety is the most important priority for 2/3 of the people out there, and half of the people.
Nationally?
Yeah. Well, yes. In their sample group. This is a Nelson research project, and half of the people surveyed said that they feel less safe in their community than they did 2 years ago. So it kind of harkens back to almost to a Reagan era quote of, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I don't think that the people of my community of Oregon, of the United States, are any better off than we were 2 years ago, to be quite frank. Having been in public safety for over half my life, I think I bring a good perspective to state government to talk with people in Salem and to find solutions that help a lot of people.
How do you feel? So I feel like, just as a citizen, that it feels a little more lawless around my neighborhood. Like there's a chop shop operating a block and a half away, full-on chop shop, and we can't get rid of it. How bad is it out there? I know you're Gresham. Can we talk about Gresham and Portland together? I mean, is it a lawless mess?
Gresham's not Portland, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
A big part of the problem that we have is staffing. I mean, we have people that are leaving the profession or going to different departments. Our staffing levels down to about 20%. Portland's I think it's about the same. And they constantly have retirements, and they can't. When you can only put 40 people total in a basic academy class that lasts 16 weeks, they overlap a little bit, but you're only having 40 new cops come out at one time. And if Portland retires 40 people and they hire 6, it's a losing battle. I mean, I know Chief Level, and I know that his folks are working on finding a lot more recruits, but it's tough everywhere. I mean, every department that I know has openings.
What are people doing instead of becoming police officers?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Because it's a hard as hell job.
It's got its challenges.
You said Portland is in Gresham. I'm interested in that. Are you seeing a difference across the borderline in the two communities, and if so, how?
A little bit. I mean, we're kind of getting away from the District 40 thing, but I mean, a little bit. We've got good programs in Gresham. I mean, Gresham has one of the most progressive homeless outreach programs in the community on the West Coast. That's being modeled all the way from Seattle down to California. That's not through Built for Zero, is it? No, it's actually, we have city employees that go out and work with the homeless on a daily basis.
I've seen a TV segment on it.
Yeah, Kevin Dahlgren out there.
Yeah.
Who's the person to talk to about that?
Kevin Dahlgren is the kind of the lead guy out there.
Sorry.
I mean, our department has great training. We have dedicated officers. We have good equipment. We have a great command staff. We don't have enough officers to work. I mean, we've had to. It's no secret. It's been publicized that we had to pull our transit cops back to the office. We had to pull our motorcycle traffic officers into patrol. Our neighborhood enforcement team, which dealt with a lot of these kind of livability issues, all back into patrol to supplement patrol shifts in order to fill all of our districts every day at minimum staffing levels. So it's been a challenge, and we're hoping to get some of those back. And like I said, Chief Goldberg's doing a great job out there, and he's working on some new ideas, and yeah.
All right. Is there anything we haven't asked you about? You've traveled a decent distance to be here, and I don't want to rush you out.
Sure.
So, is there something we haven't asked you about yet?
Did we ask what your first bill would be if you were elected? We've been asking that one.
I would love to get rid of Measure 110. I would love to repeal that, make drugs illegal again.
We've been doing a lot on Measure 110 lately. That's why I'm laughing.
It is significant, and you can walk through anywhere. You can walk through downtown Portland. You can walk down McLaughlin Boulevard, and everywhere you go, there's people there's piles of needles, and there's just human waste everywhere. It's so frustrating to see that kind of creeping into our community, and getting rid of 110, making drugs illegal again, holding criminals accountable for their actions, and quite frankly, holding government officials accountable for their actions are all important things to me.
Did you see an increase in those things and needles all over the place? And
oh, absolutely.
With the passage,
absolutely,
really?
yeah. And it's just people don't. It's tougher to even write those tickets. It's tougher to do anything about that other than just kind of dispose of it. And I don't think people in our communities should have to deal with that. If people want to do that, it shouldn't be done in the open. It should, if they want to use whatever you're going to use in the comfort of your home, there are certain health risks associated with everything, but I don't think that our everyday citizen going to work in Oregon City or Gladstone or anywhere else should have to step over that kind of stuff.
How is it supposed to work? Is it supposed to be when you got arrested, you got cited for possession, you were supposed to get
it was like a $100 ticket.
Then a referral or something?
Referral to treatment service.
Yeah.
And wasn't the thing that the referrals weren't happening? Is that what I read?
You have read that, yes.
Okay.
There were, of the amount of cases, the last thing I read was of the amount of cases that were actually cited, something like 2% were the ones that actually took advantage of the services.
Not that they were offered, but took advantage.
Correct.
So, okay, some stuff could have happened in the interim, but only 2% used the...
It's something like, I don't remember what the exact percentages, but it's something like that.
Yeah, there are two different gaps, though, not to like, be too disputatious, but there are two different gaps here. One is that people who are receiving citations aren't calling enough.
Correct.
The other is that the citations aren't even being handed out.
Yeah,
correct.
That's what... Yeah.
It's it's more expensive to not wear your seatbelt. It's more expensive to not have your tags updated on your car. And there's no consequence for not following up on that citation, making that call, and taking advantage of those resources. There's, they say that $100 ticket will go away if you call this number for a health evaluation. But if you don't do that, there's no recourse.
I forgot to update the tags on my car about 5 years ago, and I really wish I'd just gone into hard drugs.
Is that bad?
That was horrible. Oh, God.
So in your mind, 110's just been a failure?
110's been an absolute failure. And I don't know, I've never talked to a police officer that said, yeah, man, that sure has helped our community. Because really what it came down to was they were promoting the money that was going to come from these citations was going to build treatment centers, and all this other money was going to come in, and I haven't seen any new treatment centers come up.
Do you know what's happening with the money?
No.
It's jammed. It hasn't moved.
Yeah.
Some of it moved in the beginning, but there's $270 million that was supposed to be out January 1st.
It hasn't.
It's not there.
Yeah, I think the whole bill needs to go away, and we need to go back to making things illegal again. It feels like there's an erosion of criminal enforcement. There's an erosion of police work. There's more and more things we can't do every year.
Did it change officers' behavior on this? It must have, right? Or what? I mean,
I think there's a lot of things that have changed people's behavior.
Officers' behavior, or people's behavior?
Everybody's behavior. I mean, the people know that they can carry around hard drugs now, and the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to get taken away, and they're going to get a $100 ticket, and if they don't take, like I said, if they don't take advantage of the services, nothing happens. So there's very little consequences for that action. So it's just, between that and there's been a lot of things that have affected how not only public safety has worked, but how criminals' actions have evolved over the last couple of years. It's a very, very different environment now than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Speaking of things that are different from 2 years ago, the fun question that we're asking this cycle to all the candidates is, can you tell me a moment recently that it felt to you like a moment of joy in feeling that the pandemic had lifted in some way, that the isolation, that the masking requirement's gone, like a lot of things have changed, and obviously the disease hasn't gone away.
Right.
And yet, for many people, they've gone to concerts, they've gone to basketball games, they've hit a diner and sat at the counter. Is there a moment that comes to you that you're like, oh, this was the moment I felt good about where we're at again?
And unfortunately, in my line of work, we don't get to telecommute, so I've been going to work the entire time. And there's always, you're not supposed to go into city buildings without your mask on for a very long period of time. The way around that was we stayed in our cars and typed our reports. So that really didn't, the only thing that the way that affected us was a lot of people just didn't actually go into the building when they didn't have to. So being able to be in my car and not wear a mask by myself, and we work in single person cars, that never changed very much for the past couple of years. I would say that the first time that I really felt I don't know if joy is the word, but a little bit more sense of normalcy. Was, you know, we had a one of my civic groups, the Rosarians. We had a meeting in person. I think it was in November, and there wasn't a ton of people there. There was 60 or 70 people, but because it was a private event, we didn't have to wear masks, and so that was the first time that I'd been in a group of people in that setting where we were indoors and not masked up. The first time I went to an event where there was no masks was a concert out at Edgefield, so it was outdoors.
Yeah.
But it was.
Who was that?
That was Primus and
Nice.
can't remember who. The small groups opening for him. But that was it. That was the most normal feeling outdoor event that I'd been at in over 2 years. People sitting on the ground on blankets next to each other, chairs. It felt good.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm with you on that. We went to Edgefield and saw My Morning Jacket.
Okay.
Nice.
Man,
Primus is a good choice too.
It was good. It was fun. They were doing the Farewell to Kings. They were doing the
Nice.
you know the redo of Rush's album. It was good.
oh, nice.
That was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
I think at your age.
That's awesome.
47.
All right, Mr. Baker.
That was,
thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.